Good evening. Welcome to Northbeat. I'm Megan Roberts. A week-long trial that was scheduled to begin today in Yellowknife has been called off. Robert Holden tells us what happened.
Proceedings started an hour late this morning after 47-year-old Kelly Oviuk refused to leave the North Slave Correctional Complex. The Tuktoyaktuk man later appeared by video, with prosecutors revealing he had taken a plea deal. Facing 10 charges, he's now pleading guilty to 2. Aggravated assault and breaching a no-contact order with the victim. The charges stem from a 2022 incident where he allegedly kidnapped and physically assaulted a woman before leading police on a high-speed chase on the Inuvik-Tuktoyaktuk highway. His victim experienced a fractured nose, a laceration to the forehead, and lost toes due to frostbite. Oviuk was sentenced earlier this month to 16 months jail time. That sentence is for breaking another no-contact order with the same victim. Kelly sat quietly through most of the proceedings, but suddenly stuck his tongue out and began laughing as the judge left the courtroom. The gesture left friends and family of the victim rattled, with one individual complaining to the prosecutor. Oviuk will be sentenced this Thursday in Yellowknife. Robert Holden, CBC News, Yellowknife.
Federal Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland is set to present the 2024 budget tomorrow. We already know that the Liberal government intends to spend billions of dollars on new initiatives, but it remains to be seen how it'll do that while keeping its promise to remain fiscally prudent. Ashley Burke has more.
A new pair of shoes for a budget that might feel like a retread. The finance minister's purchase from millennial and Gen Z entrepreneurs, the generation her party is trying to win over with its budget. We already have a good idea of what initiatives are in the budget, but we don't know how the government intends to pay for them.
Our country cannot succeed unless young people succeed.
The Prime Minister didn't offer any hints about new sources of revenue, instead focusing on his message to young Canadians.
Our country cannot succeed unless young people can imagine themselves succeeding. And they just don't feel that right now.
So far, the Liberals have revealed $38 billion in commitments over a number of years. That will cover initiatives for housing, artificial intelligence, and a national school food program. So far, about $17 billion in promises involve loan-based programs. About $21 billion could hit Canada's bottom line directly.
Will we see the deficit grow?
No.
That means new revenue needs to come in.
Let's be honest, they have to raise taxes. I mean, how else are we going to do this? I don't think that it should be a big secret, but can we do it in a thoughtful, provocative way?
The NDP wants the government to make companies pay.
Let's take on the corporate greed, which is driving up the cost of living.
But experts warn if that happens, the cost could get passed on to consumers.
When you're looking to raise revenues, often you need to apply a tax that's going to affect a broad portion of your income earners. Otherwise, and that includes, middle income earners. So I'm not quite sure how we're going to get around this, to tell you honestly.
The finance minister has repeatedly said the government will not raise taxes on the middle class. Tomorrow, we're expecting to find out if the wealthiest corporations and taxpayers may have to pay more. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
You heard Ashley mention the National School Food Program that will be in tomorrow's budget. That was already announced, and organizations in Nunavut are already weighing in on it. They say the program needs more money and it needs to include country food.
In recognizing the value of country food, of food sovereignty for Inuit in Nunavut, it's an opportunity to place value on that through putting money into the hands of the people who are driving the local economy.
The National School Food Program would set aside $1 billion over 5 years with the goal of feeding more than 400,000 kids annually. There's pioneering research into new wildfire safety equipment being done in British Columbia. We've known about the risks of breathing in wildfire smoke for a long time now. And now the BC Wildfire Service and a team from UBC and the University of Alberta have created advanced respirators, a global first. Shelley Joyce takes us to Pemberton, where they tested out the new gear.
We're here at the BC Wildfire Service Pemberton Fire Zone office to see some groundbreaking research on respiratory health on BC Wildfire Fighters. For the first time ever, BC Wildfire Service fighters will be offered a selection of masks to protect them from toxins and smoke while on the job.
Inhale. That's good.
This is Kyler Golin's 12th season fighting wildfires in BC, and his first wearing a mask.
I mean, it feels good considering it. I mean, I can definitely see how it would present challenges, obviously working on the side of a steep hill or obviously doing overhand work and kind of drills like that. But yeah, I mean, comfy. Say we were to hike into the fire, we would probably take these off. But when we start like hot spotting or cold trailing or anything that really entails hands-on movement, we'd probably throw this on just to, everything we're kicking up as we work would be obviously filtered out with this. So anything to obviously improve our safety measures and make things safer for us.
Yeah, go for it, 2, 3. Yeah, how are you?
Smoke and soot are everywhere during fire season. It surrounds them as they douse the flames, when they're back at camp eating, when they're sleeping in their tents.
One of the major concerns is something called fine particulate matter, which are tiny little particles in the air. They're invisible to the naked eye. And when somebody breathes those in, they settle kind of in the deepest areas of the lungs where gas exchange actually occurs. And so these particles can cause local damage to your lungs, leading to lung disease and lung cancer. And they can actually get into your blood where they go to all sorts of organs in your bodies, including the kidney, liver, heart, and brain.
Been doing this for over 10 years now, and it's just nice to see them taking the steps to, I mean, unfortunately it's taken a couple busy years to kind of get recognition of how serious the wildfires are becoming.
Is it something that kind of has been eating at you while you're going out and doing this work, that it could be having a negative impact on your health?
It definitely sits in the back of the mind, especially, like I said, doing this 10 years. But it's a job we love, but it's definitely taking the toll upon years of doing this. Like, I've definitely noticed at the end of the season, like, my lungs are definitely not nearly as strong as the start.
Push, 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 push. Big inhale.
It's a reality of the job that Dr. Madden Brewster has noticed.
Yeah, so Sophia is doing some blood processing for us.
How did you get interested in this?
Mostly through friends who've been wildland firefighters. They're some of the most fit people that I know, and they're doing all of these very strenuous activities throughout the season. So in my head, in theory, they're, they should be getting more fit throughout the season. I could just see and anecdotally hear that they're coughing more, they're wheezing a bit as the season progresses, and by the end, they're just not as fit as they were at the start.
Is it fair for me to ask you what you think you'll find?
Yeah, these are their baseline values, so right now I don't suspect they'll have a ton of inflammation or oxidative stress, but I think as the season progresses, and there has been some studies done just acutely showing increased inflammation and increased oxidative stress right after a shift. I think that will also be elevated after the season.
Big inhale.
This is sort of phase one of many years of trying to improve the health and wellness of our fire crews.
Mike McCulley is with the BC Wildfire Service. He says finding the perfect mask for a forest firefighter is tricky. He regularly compares notes with fire services in Australia and the U.S. over how to better outfit their crews.
They're all high-level athletes that work for us, and all of their safety gear has to be light, portable, and adaptable. It has to be something that they can keep clean. They have to be able to maintain it. They have to know how to use it properly and put it on. We're going to put the tools that we know work through research into the hands of our fire crews, but we won't stop there. We'll continue to evaluate and adapt and adjust, which at some point may mean tweaking the products that we have.
It's hard, right? Because it's a necessary job, and we're lucky to have these wildland firefighters. So we need those jobs, but it is a bit of a catch-22 because there's a chance that their health is suffering, and we don't want that either. So this should have been done a long time ago. This is really hard and requires a really orchestrated effort to conduct.
We dabble in all kinds of different research, whether it's fire science or using artificial intelligence to predict fire growth, looking at new equipment and technology. But by far, our highest priority is the research that we're doing related to the health and wellness of our crews.
BC wildfire fighters are like billy goats. They're expected to climb up mountains, haul hoses, and work in smoldering forests. Offering respirators to crews is a big step, but won't be mandatory. Firefighters can choose when to wear them. something they might not do all the time, given how extreme the conditions can be. Let's talk about that mask. You took it off to talk to me.
Yeah.
Why? What did it feel like?
I found the mask pretty constrictive. I think I would definitely struggle with it doing the work that we do. I see the benefit of it, but I think practically I would find it hard to work with.
Do you think about the dangers of the job when you do it?
I absolutely do, yeah. Especially last year with the number of fatalities and accidents we had. It's definitely something that's on my mind every time I'm working the fire line. The fatigue definitely catches up with everyone. It's something that you notice. I think the fatigue just comes from the number of days we work over a season, which every year is increasing. It also comes from the conditions we work in. We work in steep terrain and we're breathing in smoke every day that we work on a fire.
So the fire crews are preparing right now for the summer. And by the end of the season, everyone will know if these masks and respirators are a good fit in their kit. Shelley Joyce, CBC News, Pemberton.
Kinga waling mulu pangolo asyang miu muna toy mo ina daily takpa kemuk sa palilok mo mutay mabuhat taling ni pilariyo sa inyo amichwalu walang mata.
I will not forgive failure. God has chosen us as a new broom to sweep the Vatican clean of corruption.
What would you like to do with your life? I'd like to be an international star.
Are you a hug?
You're crying.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Well, God will take his revenge then.
Yes, he will. With our help.
What does it take to reach the top? Join me, Ian Hannah-Mansing, as I get to know some truly inspirational people who share the secrets of their success.
If you want to talk about one moment, it's a moment where I would live or die.
It changed everything on CBC News Explore.
Moments that are so on trend right now. Ticket pricing, artificial intelligence, being a Swiftie, wild fashion trends, showbiz, and cancel culture. Join me, Alameen Abdul Mahmood, for Commotion, available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcast.
Sipping on a bit of Henny, can I get a little Remy? Feeling heavy, chilling but I'm feeling ready. Pulled up in a big old Chevy.
An elusive bird that spends its entire life at high elevations captured the imagination of one photographer. He became obsessed with catching a glimpse of the white-tailed ptarmigan in its natural and often harsh habitat. Photographer Liren Gertzman spent 7 days trekking through BC's Rocky Mountains in the winter in hopes of spotting it. Here's his journey.
At the tops of the mountains lives this elusive chicken-like bird called the ptarmigan that changes its feathers to blend in with its surroundings throughout the seasons. So in the summertime, they're brown to blend in with the rocks, and in the winter, they're pure white to blend in with the snow. There's 3 species of ptarmigan. I photographed all 3, the rock, the willow, and the white-tailed ptarmigan, but I'm still looking for a shot of the white-tailed ptarmigan that really captures the bird within the context of its winter environment, with the snow-covered mountains in the background. I'm on a journey to try to get that shot. I do think, like, a lot of the best photos ever taken of wildlife have one thing in common, and that's that the photographer had a vision and they pre-planned what they were going to do in order to get the shot. Sometimes you fail and you don't pull it off, and sometimes you succeed exactly how you envisioned, and sometimes you succeed in that you get a really interesting shot, but it's very often not exactly what you had in mind. Mission ptarmigan, not going too well, to be honest. Haven't seen any signs. So the last time I can remember there not being lots of snow in the mountains at this time of year was maybe 2015. There was so little snow in the mountains that year that it made finding the ptarmigans easier because they just stood out on the rocks because there was no snow, they had no camouflage. But it's so beautiful out here. Really having a nice time, staying warm, eating some warm food out of a bag, and yeah, it's great. Second day getting up at 5 in the morning.
Yeah, if you were to give us a number, like what is the % chance of seeing a ptarmigan?
I know I may have thrown around a number of like 45% chance earlier, but I think it's maybe more like 4.5. We're really looking for a needle in a haystack or a snowflake in a snow mound. Beautiful blizzardy conditions, maybe not the best for searching, but yeah, looking forward to it. This looks like some good ptarmigan food. Bits of vegetation sticking out of the snow. Close to 1,000 meters of vertical elevation gain to conquer here. Well, we're back at it. We headed further east into the Rockies, following up on some reports actually that ptarmigan were seen in this area not too long ago. All right, so we're up here at the tree line. Whew. As soon as I lower that, I feel the cold wind on the face. Wow. Obviously, a bird surviving up here needs a bunch of unique adaptations to make that survival possible. One really cool thing I love about ptarmigan is that they have built-in snowshoes. So if you look closely at their feet, they actually have feathers growing all the way down their feet. And that's not something we see in a lot of birds. This is an ecosystem that is being impacted by climate change. And in response to climate change, birds kind of have a couple options if they're gonna move. They can move poleward, or they can move up the mountain. And this is something that has been documented with a lot of species, is as things get warmer, the plant communities on the mountain grow further upslope, and the birds will move with them further upslope. But what happens to the species that already live at the top of the mountain? Oh, hang on, what are those tracks? Hang on. Oh my God, those are ptarmigan tracks. Have some beautiful ptarmigan tracks here. It was snowing yesterday, so these are probably pretty fresh. You can actually see a bit of a wing print here where the bird landed, walked over this way, probably had a bit of a snack on the willows, continued to those willows, walked to those willows, and then the tracks disappear, so it probably flew off there. But this is really great to see. Like, I don't think people get into wildlife photography because they feel the need to tell a story about a major conservation issue. I feel like for most people, they get into it because they just love wildlife, and that's kind of where it starts. You know, like we almost have this duty as wildlife photographers to like utilize those photos to try to give back in a way. Like, I'm not acting like wildlife photographers are heroes, right? Like, we photograph wildlife, we're very, very lucky and privileged to be able to do so. The goal is to capture a photo that gets people to think and consider how special this animal is, that we should care about this animal, and that it exists and it exists deliberately in the place that it exists. Oh, that's a good shot. I'm happy with that. You know, you go out searching for ptarmigan, a couple ravens fly in, and you end up with basically the shot that I wanted to get with the ptarmigan, just with the raven. And it's gorgeous. Like 100% worth the trip. That's how it happens.
The Nunavut Quest has been delayed by a day. The race will now start tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. local time. The race's opening ceremony took place Saturday night in Arctic Bay, but then today, the Kikitani Inuit Association says blowing snow created whiteout conditions, which made things unsafe. QIA also says some racers weren't feeling well, and the organizing committee wanted to give them more time to rest and prepare. This year's race will see 12 teams travel from Arctic Bay to Pond Inlet. Tunic Times Kimmeroot race was a success this weekend. Every year, the race is one of the highlights of Iqaluit's Spring Festival. 19 racers took part, pulling a kamatik or sled behind them. Organizers say the race is important to both Iqaluit and Kimarut.
This race took about 3 weeks to prepare for, and we review to ensure the trail is safe and to make sure we are following best practices. This is a tough race, big mountains and other terrain, so I'm proud we have this every year and I hope it continues.
The top 3 winners were Perry Akavak in first place, David Naoyuk in second, and Gary Isimaili in third. Akavak said he had issues in the last 2 races, so he was really happy with his result.
And then last year in the Hamutik race, my tongue gave out, my Hamutik hitch tongue gave out in the last lake before Kimnevut. So and that was when I was leading. So I had a couple 2 rough years and said maybe 3rd time's his terms, and here I am, I've got it.
The top 5 racers all took home cash prizes, with first place getting $10,000. Downhill skiers and snowboarders marked the end of a busy season at Mount Sema in Whitehorse this past weekend. Katrin Pilkington brings us a story about a wacky and enduring tradition that's full of slush.
This is the Slush Cup, an annual end-of-season splash. The goal is to pick up enough speed to zip across a pool of freezing water, and some participants have mastered the art of winter water skiing.
Do you have any tips?
Lean back.
All right, up on deck.
And,
Stanley James, Lawrence Hubert.
Go fast.
4 names skating in for every last little bit of speed.
For others, it's more about the journey than the destination, and that means putting on a show.
If you want to make it across, you have to
tucking back. He's got a lot of speed. This might be a success,
low,
folks.
But if you want to have
you gotta
fun,
cheer him across the finish line.
Have a good applause,
oh!
and get a good applause from
and
the
a
crowd.
Total backflop.
You really need
on
to
purpose. I don't
pull
know,
off
Nigel.
a really good crash. I'm all about getting
Making it to the edge,
applause
but not
and
quite
pleasing
over.
the crowd. So I don't.
So close, you can almost taste it.
I could make it across, and
We
I
wanted to
wouldn't
see it,
care
folks. We wanted to
as
see a
long
success
as
here.
everybody's happy
It's
and
been
I
a
pull
while.
off a great crash. I'm happy.
While these slopes will now be closed for skiing, Mount Sema will soon be gearing up to host mountain bikers. For now, and for the people gathered here, it's about celebrating another season, taking the time to soak it all in. Katrin Pilkington, CBC News, Whitehorse.
And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, you can always go to our website, cbc.ca/north. We leave you with a look at the 4-dog sled race at tunic time. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.
I don't care what the law is. I will never be a slave. That word, I hate it. It rests on my tongue like rot.
Peter, how does it feel to get paid for your work?
There are rumors freedom's coming for us all.
Freedom, you know that's all I want.
Chloe, careful. Vrooman would rather say you cross the river to America than let you go free.
Then I'll run.
I've run before. Maybe this time for good.
No! No! Just get her into a boat. No! Chloe? Chloe, no!
Let me go!
Word of Chloe Cooley's resistance led to Canada's first legislation limiting slavery. After 200 years, slavery was abolished in Canada in 1834.
What happens when we transform the country into one massive obstacle course? 20 total strangers are about to find out.
Okay, game on!
Relationships will be forged and crushed.
I want to rip their heads off.
In an all-out battle for glory.
Oh my God! I'm glad that there's cameras around. Yeah, me too. Do it in, replay.
Only one thing's for sure. They are not ready for what's coming.
Let's go, baby!
So good.
Please be careful.
I'm excited, dude. Me too. We're back with Crime Scene Kitchen.
It's a bold choice.
Yes, honey.
It's a very straightforward recipe. This is going to be an absolute showstopper.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
Woo!
Yeah. I murdered a donut.
That's a crime scene.
I'm such a fan of this show.
Listen to the podcast, Q with Tom Power.
The story itself is so unbelievable.
The industry wasn't set up for me to thrive in.
The presence I feel now is not something that I believed to be possible in the past.
So many people thought I couldn't do it. They doubted me.
Felt like I ripped my whole heart out.
I didn't realize how formative 25 to 30 would be.
I have to kind of repress my own self-doubt.
You're one of my favorite interviewers, so I was pumped.
Get out of here.
Q with Tom Power. Available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello. Dad is the master of marketing.
So handsome, both of them. How big is my face? Bigger.
Dad's a superstar wherever he goes.
2, 1.
Go back to
Daddy, marketing works.
What does it take to reach the top? Meet some truly inspirational people as they share the challenges and secrets of their success. It changed everything on CBC News Explore.
We fought our way through Italy and then headed for Amsterdam, sweeping for Germans along the way. Our worst fear was to catch a bullet in these last hours of the war.
I was 15 when the Nazis invaded the Netherlands. More than 100,000 Dutch Jews never came home. Our men were put into forced labor. By 1945, we were starving. The food drops gave us hope. And then the Canadians came.
Before Amsterdam, I couldn't have explained why we were there, all those years away from home, but the Dutch showed us why it mattered.
Papa wanted me to bring some soldiers home to thank them personally, and that's when I first saw Wilf, and I invited him over that afternoon.
Marguerite Blaise married Lieutenant Wilf Gildersleeve. They moved to Vancouver, where they raised 8 children. Today, the Dutch still remember the Canadians who liberated them.